Hello YouTube. Today I've got a Pentax SMC 50mm standard lens, pretty much the lens that came with every Pentax ever made from right out of the box. I'm going to show you how to just take this thing apart and get the glass out. If you have a lens that's maybe got some minor fungus, has not possibly chewed through the coatings yet, it's got some dust inside, moisture, whatever. I got two of these, and I had to take one apart, and this was my experimental lens. This one has some fairly significant fungus damage, so this was my guinea pig, and I'm going to show you how to get this apart in fairly simple terms. With this lens, I've already had this apart 2 or 3 times. It's already loosened up, so you'll see me. I'm going to be using this tool here instead of my spanner wrench. The spanner wrench is the tool you're going to want to use really for your initial take apart. Because while these things are not cranked in there especially tight, they are snugged up, and this is a destructive tool unless you have the hands of a surgeon. I don't. I wasn't worried about it. This one took a beating. Perhaps you can see some of the scratches I made. The only really tricky part in getting this thing open is this first ring, the one with all the writing on it. It's very delicate. It is generally going to be screwed in tighter than probably anything else, and it can be a problem to get apart. When I did this one the first time, I used, and I don't have one right here handy again, but I used one of those rubber jar cover things. You know, it's a rubber thing. You grab the top of the jar, gives you some traction. I used that. I held it over the lens and really pretty much used fingertip pressure, just working it a little bit at a time to get it loose. And then I took my more aggressive tool, which I don't recommend. Then I grabbed it very delicately and screwed that first ring out, the trim ring I guess you would call it. That comes out like that. Your inner lens on this particular style, there's more than one style of these out there. I'm going to guess this lens was an earlier production lens. It's got a lot more screwed together units. The later one that I have seems to be a little more modular. It comes apart. It's got a metal ring that holds in this assembly here as a unit, and anyhow you'll see the difference when you get to it. Essentially they're the same. The glass, I believe, that is the same. The function is the same. You can do this without disturbing any of your settings. You can do this without disturbing the aperture ring inside. See, that still works fine. But let's just continue through this. Got the outer ring off. Now I'm going to grab, there's 2 rings, an inner and an outer. It doesn't especially matter, or it didn't to me, which I got out first. But I'm going to adjust this unfriendly aggressive tool again. And I'm going to grab the whole thing and turn it out until it's loose. I'm just going to use fingers. I'm going to grab it like that. Now you're going to see that I'm going to be rather unkind to this thing because this one is messed up enough. I'm just not worried about it. So that takes out the outermost 2 lenses, and then you can adjust. And again, you're going to want your eyepiece unless you have a young man's eyes or a big magnifying glass, you're going to want to be able to find the two inner detents where your tool would go in. You're going to want to screw out, and this is the one I messed up the worst. Just screw this out. I see a little slip there. That ring comes out, and then you've got your first glass. Curved side is always out. I'm going to lay that right on top there. And then you've got your inner lenses. The back of this one unscrews. This is, I think, plastic. And it didn't take a lot to get this off. It comes off like that. And I believe, voila, you have, let's see, that's the one, two, third piece of glass. Now with these out, you're able to clean all three. Keep track of how they came apart, because it, as you know, it matters. You get the inside of this one clean, both sides of this one clean, put it back together without touching it so you don't get finger marks on it like I already have. Gently, gently screw it back together. Then you can clean the outside of this, both sides of this. I'm not going to, that's why you see my fingers all over it. Put it back in there. Screw that ring in. Again, be more gentle if this is a lens you care about you're working on. As I said, this one has taken one for the team, so I'm not particularly concerned about it. And then that is ready to go back in. And you'll see once this thing is out, you have complete access to the aperture. You can inspect the blades. You can see there, I think you can see there, that they're clean, dry, they work fine. It's nice and smooth. Focus is nice, and that's pretty smooth. I would say that's pretty good. Now we come to the back, and you want to turn that thing until the whole rear lens assembly is all the way up. You're going to want to grab your non-aggressive tool. This is the aggressive tool, and turn that out. And voila, there's your lenses there. There again is the back side of your aperture blades. Clean, dry, they work nice. And this one, okay, this is inside. On most, I should say some, this will turn out also. And again, you have access to the backmost lens. You can do both sides of this, both sides of this, screw it back together without actually touching it. And very gently, that's as much as it should ever take to screw these things back together. If it takes more than that, you've cross-threaded it. You can also, there's an inner ring here. I don't remember if I took this one out or not. We're going to find out. So if you did have to, yep, I took this one out. Okay, so my digital camera cut me off again, so I'm going to pick this up. I'm pretty sure where I left off and just show you the reassembly process. I left off taking off this ring, that ring comes out, glass comes out, the one that was did not come out when you took the back cover ring off of this lens. So you can also take this glass out of this cone, clean it, put it back in, put that ring back on there, gently get it threaded. Like so. Take your non-aggressive tool and screw it back in there, making it just a little snug. And then this one screws in rather nicely. One thing I did do with this lens, and I don't know if it's a good idea, so don't bet your lens on it, but I did in here where the threaded points are, where all these things screw together, I did take a drop of some super light, again my watch oil, and just touch a dot to the threads, and it made reassembly much better. So we've put the back lens back in, we've looked at the aperture blades, nothing has been disturbed, focus works the same as it did before, f-stops are the same. We gently, and this is not gently screw this back in, and I see my battery light is going on or going off, so I'm probably going to get cut off again. But the bottom line is, this is how you put it back together. You can do it in a matter of minutes if you just are doing it this way. I'm being a little rushed because I'd like to beat my dead battery. So you want to make sure and give it a fair chance. Again, I'm being pretty aggressive with this thing. My hands are not clean. My tool is the aggressive tool. But that's it. Different production lenses have some different features. Basically it's the same. Use your eyepiece, take your time, you'll see the differences. As far as I am aware, all of these that are in this class, 50 millimeter class, come apart approximately the same. And you can do it all without screwing with anything, as you might have to with a larger lens. And that's all I wanted to show you. So until next time.